Buenas tardes. Welcome to the Southern California Poetry Festival. My name is Ivan Salinas, Programs Manager here at Beyond Baroque. This is our third and final day of the 2024 so-called Poetry Festival. It's going great and very excited for the next set of panels that we have for you all. Today we are here to present a reading in celebration of this beautiful anthology released earlier this year by the Library of America in support, collaboration with numerous organizations across the country that are presenting programming to highlight all of the voices included in this anthology that spans centuries of all the contributions made by Latinx writers. And it's very special that we are highlighting for Central American poets, the diaspora of poets living here in the United States. I do want to acknowledge that Beyond Baroque is in unceded territory. We are an organization that stands with indigenous communities. We stand against genocide and are committed to uplifting their stories, communities, and cultures. But this is Tongva territory, and we acknowledge that they are the original stewards of this land. For today, we have places we call home, voices of the Central American Diaspora. Beyond Baroque and Letras Latinas, in partnership with UCLA's César Chavez, Chicana, Chicanx, and Central American Studies Department, presents a panel with Darrel Alejandro Holnes, Adela Najarro, Maya Chinchilla, and Janel Pineda. This gathering reflects the voices of US-based poets whose works explore queerness, femininity, and Black heritage rooted in some of the territories comprising the region of Central America. We're going to hear mainly their poems, some of which are in the anthology, and afterwards, I'm sure the poets will be happy to sign books. We have them across the hall in our bookstore. And afterwards, feel free to have a conversation with any of them. So to start off, we'll welcome Darrel Alejandro Holnes. Darrel is an Afro-Panamanian American writer, director, and producer. Holnes is the author of Stepmotherland, winner of the Andres Montoya Poetry Prize and the International Latino Book Award in Poetry, and Migrant Psalms, winner of the Drinking Gourd Poetry Prize. Holnes has received numerous accolades, including a National Endowment for the Arts Literature Fellowship in Creative Writing and the C.P. Cavafy Poetry Prize from Poetry International for his poem, Praise Song for My Mutilated World. Please welcome Darrel Alejandro Holnes.
Thank you, Ivan. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. And I'm really excited to be reading with poets that I admire so much. I mean, so many of you, I can't see anyone, by the way, but know that from the bottom of my heart, I'm excited to be included among the other readers that are here today because it's just so many years I've admired their work and I've never met any of them in person. Some of us have been in readings together on Zoom and, so it's really special. So this poem is called Praise Song for My Mutilated World. Ode to the Japanese radio oozing hot tunes in the hot afternoon of my childhood at age 4 in La Ciudad de Panama at my abuelo's house. Ode to the Black women made of air and imagination who Pito and I dance with in his living room in La Rosita, the rosy part of Rio Abajo, known for turning bullets into blooms. Ode to Laura Braz, the early 90s Brazilian siren in Kaoma, who seduces us into dancing with our dream girls and away from the bullet-bitten bodies plastered across the front page of La Crítica News. Ode to the famous mulatto melody howling from the bellows of the accordion on the record, and to the Portuguese words I pronounce in near Spanish, as I try to sing along to the forbidden dance song. A recordação vai estar com ela onde for. A recordação vai estar para sempre onde for. There isn't much forbidden in my family except piedra and hierba and the tiroteo from their trade. There isn't much forbidden in my family except pistolas y secuestros and chanchudos y corruptos who've become piedra slaves. Pito and I save the negras in our arms from piedreros, drug dealers, and the cartel. With our moreno swing hips, dips, and spins to the two-beat carimbo drum rhythm, stronger than the pulse thumping through my little boy body, until I can't tell the difference between my corazón and the radio's tong-tong, until our dream girls become our real women, until we've praised, danced our world back to being one that little brown black boys like me can believe in. My father was a port captain in the Panama Canal, and on the occasion of his retirement, I wrote this poem. Ode to my father, the captain. Praise be to my father. Glory be to his never-blinking eyes, wide open in solidarity, with the unstoppable water flow between oceans and the endlessly swift airstreams in the sky. Ever alert, armed only with his compass and memorized maps of the stars, he pilots the ship through locks in the Panama Canal to turn tides on a dime in the dance of trade and unlock the earth's many ancient water routes. Honor be to my father for keeping us worldly with rubber cargo from Indonesia for our sneaker soles and tantalizing tantalite cargo from Brazil for our iPhones in a world where people are defined by their crazy love of foreign things. Praise be to the captain's pepper tongue, speaking orders in an island-infused English to the ship's home squad, while also speaking a smooth-sailing Spanish to his canal crew of good-time guy Pana master pilots. For navigating the planet's sea of tongues with style, and the graceful phonetics of an articulate diplomat, as any black man who is among the first captains of his kind would have to do. Praise to the giants on whose shoulders my father stands, to the shackled gallants packed top to bottom and shipped in galleons from Badagree or Cape Coast Castle to West Indian plantations, and then to our isthmus, to build and labor our canal. To the ancestors who guide my father when his motors break with their celestial steering, with a gentle push from their hands of sky, just as he guides me to steer my black man body past us having once been considered cargo, past his now commanding a foreign cargo ship. To me, one day becoming the wind sifting through all sails, to my one day becoming the water through which all ships must navigate, to my one day becoming the dark matter from which the stars hang at night, illuminating the way home for all who have strayed or been stolen. And now, kind captain, go home to rest. The last boost of coffee has rained down from your thermos flask and washed through your blood to mine. You who cruise the moon around the world so tight, rest sweetly as you sail home tonight. So I write about family quite a bit, but I also write about love. Are you guys ready for some love poems? Great. This poem is in the anthology, and I was really surprised when Francisco chose it. When Rigoberto chose it. Sorry, I have a lot of letras latinas on my mind at the moment. But I'm happy that he did. It's called Cristo Negro de Portobelo. It's when they see me naked that they finally believe I'm from Panama. The crucifix hanging on my black chest Underneath the little hair I inherited from my father, sweats as I perform what priests and their laws call unnatural acts. Only men grow body hair. Only men are this dark. And when my hands finally darkened enough to color even the blackest swans, I was sad to see them suddenly turn into wings. Plumed palms, hollow finger bones, limp wrists. But then again, the struggle of first flight against the moon's night can be a freedom beyond heaven and its wanting eternity. So now, rebellion is my new religion, or something else romantic and American, like a crownless king, perhaps an immigrant one, atop a throne in native disguise. I want to keep reading love poems because I feel like that's what the world needs more of. Do you agree? So this poem is dedicated to my fiance, who I'll be marrying in 2 months. It's called Transcendental Love Song, and it'll actually be out in Poetry Magazine next in December. So check it out. Transcendental Love Song. This love dares not speak its name in some states until your eyes say it on a beach in Fort Lauderdale, staring into mine, until the cosmos spins out of my iris y nos nubla y nos vuela into the postulated sky of matted matter and sparkling light, safely in a haze of shadows and shine. Away from marches against our marriages and the congressional bills against our histories being taught. I cannot say how much I love you in Brickell or Tampa, but I can look back at you, painting perfectly 1,000 ways for me to say, be mine. Don't you see? This is not a barren love. Ours is a lust like hydrogen or helium. Once we have each other, we need not be named to be elemental, to be beyond city or state. We need not be named to be animal, raw and rocket shipped, shooting through the universe, the engine's torque pulling us even closer together than skin to skin could ever describe. This last poem I'm going to read is dedicated to anyone who's ever been in a long-distance relationship these modern times. And it's called Nudes. I can't help but let you watch me as if there was only smoke between us, or white lies, or a single broken promise instead of a half country. I can't help but turn red at the thought of you rubbing your light to pictures of me in the dark on your cell phone until you catch a fire from all that LED. I send you little sweet nothings and emojis. I send you little sweet love songs and voice notes of my last breaths without you. As if we're teens falling in love for the first time and failing at language instead of millennials in our 30s, or somehow even older than that, trying to keep up with modern love and its way of shrinking spaces so I can feel as if it's right next to me, your very, very large heart.
Round of applause for the soon-to-be newlyweds. Thank you so much for flying out to visit Southern California, Darrel. All right, our next poet is Maya Chinchilla, author of the Chacha Files, a Chapina Poética, is a writer, educator, and media maker. She teaches as a lecturer in Latinx Studies, English, and Creative Writing at San Francisco State University and Laney College. She is a recipient of the Mellon Foundation's U.S. Latino Digital Humanities grant for her mapping of Guatemalan leadership, solidarity, and organizing, and has been funded by the Queer Cultural Center, California Humanities, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and Fresh Meat Productions, and wrote, curated, and edited the multimedia show Central American Unicorns in Space. All right, welcome, Maya Chinchilla.
Oh yeah, you can't see anything. I can see your feet though, so shake your feet if you got them. It's so great to be here. I grew up in Long Beach, California. Not Long Beach, like is there one in New Jersey? Or no, not New Jersey, sorry, on the East Coast. Geography, but came down from Oakland to be here with you all this fine, beautiful weekend, and I'm just really grateful to be able to share and talk about poetry in these here times. And I feel like I've said that ever since I started writing poetry. So it's always been these here times. But the piece that is in this anthology is something I wrote when I was like maybe 19 years old. So, you know, like 2 years ago. And I had been reading a lot of Nuyorican poetry. I had been reading a lot of Chicano poetry, you know, some of the Latin American greats. And I found myself in the margins, but never found anything that really spoke to my own experience. And so I think some of the poems that I've written, you know, have touched on this. And then sometimes I'm writing all kinds of other things too. But this is not a poem I have read a lot in public, but I published it, and then it's been written about, so it's been fun and weird to see that since. But it's called Central American American. Central American American. Does that come with a hyphen, a space? Central America, America, Las Americas, Español chapín, black beans and rice, tortillas de maíz almost an inch thick, refugees and exiles as playmates, movies with trembling mountains, bombs, and gunfire raging in my heart, blacklists and secrets, huipiles and mysterious people passing through my home. Where's the center of America anyway? Are there flowers on a volcano? You can find the center in my heart where I imagine the flowers never die. But today the volcano explodes in a way it has every day for more than 30 years. No, it's not sacrifice it desires, for we have already sacrificed too much. They want us out of this country. They say we don't belong here. Vamos para el norte. They tell us the American dream is truth, but that our stories of escape from horror are not. When can we rest from running? When will the explosions in my heart stop and show me where my home is? Are there flowers on a volcano? Am I a Central American? Where is the center of America? Thank you. I want to read this other poem. So maybe I'll read that one. So that, you know, then this is a poem after Patricia Smith that, again, like there's times when we take ourselves so seriously as poets, and then there's other times when you're just playful, and hopefully there's you land somewhere maybe in between. And I was writing with some young queer migrant youth in San Francisco, and we were all writing our poems of after Patricia Smith called What It's Like to Be a Black Girl for Those Who Aren't. So this is my What It's Like to Be a Central American Unicorn for Those Who Aren't. First of all, I am a mythical creature that is only mentioned, if at all, in relation to war, trauma, maras, revolutions, earthquakes, canals, volcanoes, Indians kidnapped by aliens, and the Guatemalan maid as your punchline, caring for your children so you don't have to, who has her own story to tell. What happens if I never mention these things? Am I contributing to the loss, the silence, the erased lines, the gaps in historical memory, the opportunity for reconciliation to make amends? What if I never mention pupusas? Or my grandmother's pepián, black beans and rice? Or quesadilla, that's a cheesy bread, not tortillas with melted cheese. Or the million ways to fry a plátano. Or Honduran baleadas, which I have yet to try. It's not true, I've tried them now. What if I tell you that I am usually the only one of my kind? That if I make up what it means to be Guatemalan-American, no one in the room will be able to call me a liar? What if I swear to all that is unholy that if one more person shares that they went to study Spanish in Guatemala and backpacked through the highlands without ever mentioning massacred Mayans, the Quiché, the Mam, the Ixil, Cachiquel, yes, modern-day Mayans, not kidnapped by aliens, or the absence of, that is, Ladino, mestizo, plus Garifuna, Mosquito, Pipil, Lenca, not mysterious civilizations disappeared. Yes, thank you for knowing that they invented the zero, and no, the world didn't end up stopping in 2012. But I don't want to hear about your trip unless you're fundraising to get me and the diaspora back on a regular basis. What if I tell you I don't speak any indigenous languages, except for the remnants of words that I crept into my Spanish I relearned in high school when I went to Guate that one summer? That my family denies any indigenous ancestry, though DNA and memory say different. That we are an urban people who value engineering degrees above all else. That I haven't been back in 10 years. And there are silent wars among cousins, aunts and uncles, Catholics versus Protestants versus atheists versus cremas versus rojos, which are soccer teams. Disjointed conversations of over here from over there and over there from over here, and I can't go back over there in the same way anymore. I can't go back there. Over there doesn't exist in the same way. And so I pack my Central American paranoia that taught me that everyone is shady until proven otherwise. Don't sit with your back to the door. Don't count money in public. Leave your shoes next to your bed in case you have to run at night. Remember, the walls have ears. Mix in grains of sands from imaginary homeland, then file them in a plastic file box to ride out to the next adventure, leaving trails of glitter that smell of copal, banana leaves, wood-burning stoves, and moist green earth, so that other magical creatures may find me. Thank you. All right. Ooh, I'm doing okay with time, I believe. All right, 2 short poems, I think. Yes. Okay. Okay, so this is a corrido for my dad. Con su permiso, after Tish Hinojosa. With your permission, I want to write to you this poem without sadness or nostalgia, with his paintbrush in his mano, drawing landscapes, tall tales, and computer programs, like a Guatemalan hidden figure. Born in 1936, that's right before internet and personal computers, his dreams of flying planes, painting, designing, drawing, telling stories too. Un niño héroe, jailed for defending against Yankee imperialism in '54. With a baseball in his hand, he organized young boys with grand plans. Without fear, he crossed 2 borders in 76 or 67 for adventure, job, maybe love too. With a light jacket, stopped by Border Patrol in Texas, who laughed he might need something warmer in Wisconsin. Wary of signs that said no Spanish, no Negroes, no dogs. You're not going to survive in the snow with your tropical skin. Don Jorge, also known as Papi, no nicknames for him. He says, make sure they say your name right so Abuelita can recognize you when you're famous. Even now, attentive to newscasts, he tells his daughters, you know, more than 500 women are running in the next election. Don't you want to do your part too? Now his heart regularly skips a beat and he forgets to pick up his feet, but mainframes, grand slams, borderlines continue to circle his head. And this is an ode to the young Central American badasses I have met. And my book turns 10 years old this year. So we're going into preteenhood. And I've been able to travel and meet the most amazing people through poetry. And that to me is just wild. So I appreciate it. An ode to young Central American badasses I have met. Their hearts beats skip faster than the rest, I think. The ones sin bandera, the ones who only wave blue flags to find each other in a crowd, but don't pledge allegiance to any flag. The colochas, the long braids, the pink dye jobs, buzz cuts, thick rivers of hair that won't stay in place. The good kids, the ones who grew up too fast, that teach themselves, observe beyond words. The ones who go back to church to say hello to everyone, even though they made them feel their life is a sin. The atea, who lights candles, does baños con hierbas just in case. The one I met from Inglewood, the one from Providence, Rhode Island, the one from Hollywood, dancing to reggaeton booming from cars on the streets of Boston, from Chicago to Berkeley, Michigan to Seattle, Orlando to Minneapolis, Long Beach to Santa Cruz, Tucson to Iowa, the Mission to the Heights. From the teens walking thousands of miles who aren't victims, keep their plans shined and protected with big bright eyes that both welcome and check to make sure you can be trusted. That left home who now teach or publish books. The Hondurans in upstate New York who never left the Bronx. The Chapina Mexican writer, the Salvi Puerto Riqueña, the German Panamanian, the Gringa Nicaraguense, the Belizean, a Creole kid who speaks multiple languages. The Garifuna, who schooled me on all her names, the Catracha, who speaks Boricua, the Nicoya, who forgets to take breaths in between sentences, the Salvi, with the electric smile, who taught me about timekeepers, the adoptee, who speaks Spanish better than me with a Midwestern lilt, the Sureña troublemaker turned community organizer that everyone trusts with their secrets, the strong mujeres who still need a hug, the young boys who aren't afraid to show each other affection in detention, the scholarship kids, the reflexively, organically homegrown intellectuals, the dropouts working several jobs to help their mom, the first of their families. Whew. I didn't cry during the dad one, like I'm crying during this, but the first of their families, the award winners, the meme makers, masters of la bayuncada, the goalkeepers, the ones who make magic out of DMs and fundraisers. They remind me I'm not the only one.
All right, Maya Chinchilla, everybody. Thank you. Beautiful. Next up is Adela Najarro. Adela has published 4 poetry collections: Volcanic Interruptions, My Children's, Twice Told Over, and Split Geography. The Letras Latinas, Red Hen Collaborative selected Variations in Blue for publication in 2025. Her extended family left Nicaragua and arrived in San Francisco during the 1940s after the fall of the Somoza regime. The last of the family settled in the LA area. The California Arts Council has recognized her as an established artist and appointed her an Individual Artist Fellow. Please welcome Adela Najarro.
Hello, everyone. And it's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank Beyond Baroque for setting this wonderful weekend up, and all the poetry, all the writers that are sharing this stage in this moment, and everybody here who's to listen and to take poetry into their hearts and as part of their lives and the tapestry of our existence. Rubén Darío says, there's my favorite line, más me libró en toda parte arte, right? And so we can survive by promotion of the arts. So let that be so. Okay, so, and then this anthology, I've read tons of Latino anthologies. It's amazing. You need to buy it. Okay. All right, so my entry in the anthology is called, And His Name is Nixon. Not Richard Nixon. His name is just a name, this Nixon, this one Nica from Nicaragua, who walks into a kitschy little hotspot and begins lilting his Spanish, dropping the S y vocificando. I know I've heard that Spanish before, and of course, son de Nicaragua. Nixon y su compañero, wittier than wit and fast with one-liners, in Spanish, of course, Nicaraguan Spanish, that's Spanish, interwoven within the vowels of my English. And his name is Nixon. But how did one boy out of Bluefields, Nicaragua, acquire a moniker chiming infamously through history? An American history, a history of empire, the capital, commerce, and dollars. So often, we've sent in the Marines, followed by freight tankers chugging through Playas del Sol and waterways south, Mexico, el Caribe, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, Colombia, y Chile. I tell Nixon that my mother was raised on a farm in Bluefields, the fincas, rivers. My mother's memories turned into stories about rabbits, crocodiles, and Tia Pinita spooning rice and beans. It was his turn, at age 12, to traverse borders from Nicaragua to the U.S., con un coyote, alone by himself. No me hicieron nada, he says, implying that his body survived intact, perhaps a bit tired, near exhaustion, but whole, with his soul still fluttering inside a prepubescent body. When Los Coyotes took his passport, he put on a show, pleading ignorance, that he didn't know how to write his name, that he needed to copy the letters out, and somehow this worked. They let him keep the passport. Then one evening, he jumps out of a bedroom window. Debajo los llantos de la luna, through the breathing pulse of night, his feet landed with a soft thud, and he joined those who had gone before, those who crossed borders, those across centuries, those who fled only to continuously flee, rusted wire, chains, locks, our doors bolted shut. Thank you. Yeah. So this is kind of fun. I am going to do a lot of the Central American poems, just because, hey, why not? I'm in a Central American reading. Okay. All right. Okay. Volcanic poetics. After iguanas ran off with the sun, after pericos emerged violently squawking, after soldiers left bullet holes and torn mattresses, and the dictator collected music boxes and skulls, a song rose from the stink of a river festering yellow mud, where one eye of a crocodile watched you, I, we, todos break bones, break bodies. I want to tell you about after, how bones knit, courage rises, how we stave off despair. Once in that country filled with mango trees, where sharks live in fresh water, where monkeys are kept on leashes, where ice cream is salty, el Ministerio de Cultura issued a call to language as action, a call to write poems about ordinary objects, and exteriorismo began stirring a pot of beans adding oil, then leftover rice to make gallo pinto, a plain dish that Danny likes, a child, our child, here in the States with Nika blood. Poems are his legacy, along with the lava-filled past that percolated a revolution of sound, vida y ranas, ranitas, little froggies on a farm on the road to Momotombo. My mother's words explode volcanic vowels. Ay, como queman. The slow burn down the side of a mountain with its top blown off. Nature on fire. Poetry, a living thing. Thank you. And this one is called When Poetry Arrived After Reading Neruda. I don't know where it comes from, the sin of loving too much and too freely. I was born through a rush of blood and water into a fresh howling scream. There were no words, yet there was no silence. Poetry arrived in shadow, in the scent of a pillowcase, in the sheets of rain outside a window. I was wearing my mother's face and my father's indifference. I learned how shame sews lips shut, and to listen to vowels primed under a tropical sun, a Spanish lilt to English vowels. A, E, I, O, U, el burro sabe más que tú. With a woman's sin come words that cannot carry. At first, I began with the rhythmic gait that threw knives and shattered guitars. Then I began to write about what lies north, then south, and now here, a stellar jay and his bright blue body hopping up cast iron stairs. I don't know what it means, but I'm getting used to the taste of multicolored pebbles and to the sound of snail shells cracked and dried yellow. I tell the boys, enough now, it is time to think about other things. When poetry arrived, she unwrapped, fingers clenched around my throat, and broke the silence of my mother's sins. And I'm going to end with last poem is about my mom, and it's in her voice. So I wrote a series of poems. If you really love somebody, you can write their voice. That was a prompt, and I think I love my mom. Okay, aquí estamos. En la voz de mi madre. What Lola wants, Lola gets. Once I stole onto a train and rode all the way to León by myself. I was 14. I wanted to leave ese tío malvado and be with my brothers, but they sent me back. I didn't stay long. My first job was smiling. I was a receptionist behind a counter. I knew how to work, but they didn't pay enough. A Pan Am flight me llamaba a los Estados Unidos. San Francisco, LA, Downey, my kids, my job, my money that I earned, my house that I bought. Oh, see what I have seen. Oh, taste what I have tasted. We all have our secrets. I don't regret a thing. I hang a picture of Papachus above the TV. Our souls in the hands of the Father. No nos dejes caer en tentación y líbranos del mal. I still say it in Spanish, even though it's been over 60 years. Stepping on las playas de Ponoloya, my shoulders burned. Freckles cover my back like a shawl of stars. Thank you.
Yeah, Darrel was visiting us from East Coast, and we had two poets from the Bay Area, and now an LA poet to close out this beautiful reading is Janel Pineda, Salvadorian poet, educator, and literary scholar. She is the author of Lineage of Rain and has performed her poetry internationally in English and Spanish. Janel is currently pursuing a PhD at UCLA as a PD Soros Fellow, where her research focuses on Central American poetics and the liberatory capacities of poetry for Central American families. Please welcome Janel Pineda.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, you really can't see anyone. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here today and to have gotten to read with such a wonderful panel of poets. So thank you to each of you for the poems that you shared. I feel really moved and inspired. I've been thinking a lot about the myth of La Ciguanaba, which for the Central Americans in the audience, you might be aware of her, where she is often demonized, right? She's used as a cautionary tale, like if you go outside at night, particularly for men, La Ciguanaba is gonna get you. But I also think it's important to reclaim her story for me as a feminist and an empowering symbol. So this is Mujer Malvada, to La Ciguanaba. I sprout from your black waters, arms rooting to earth, bajo luna del lago Coatepeque. I am birthed from your memory, given a new skin and hide to brush and braid, ashes de Izalco dusting my hair. My hands, still my hands, marked by your myth, calloused, rope-burned, nails sharpened to blade. My face, still my face, goes missing sometimes, just like yours, Siwewet. My body safe because you took yours back, safe because you took theirs instead. This next poem is possibly one of the first poems I wrote about El Salvador, and it's about my first experience being there. It's called Fifth Grade Show and Tell. El Salvador is a country too small to stand out on the map, overshadowed by los Estados Unidos y Mexico. It is 8,124 square miles of cobblestone roads, cafetales, and greenery, leading up to the volcanic skyline, and the way the bitter skin of the mamey leaves your tongue with an itchy burn that is cured only by its sweet insides, and how Navidad really is the most feliz time of all, with the metralleta fireworks setting palm trees on fire in the night heat of Diciembre, and the two American girls wondering why the hell no one's called 911. Another day, El Chaparro goes to El Centro. He orders un mango cumbia, sucking the lime and pressing the cool bottle to his forehead after the never-ending day of work. And finally, comes home to his esposa, who gives him everything, no matter how tired she is, too. She has a plate of frijoles and queso duro ready, with a café just right. She is always just right. So she takes a moment for herself, kicks her feet up on the hamaca, and sings that song from her favorite novela. She sings that song so loud, I hear her from my room, further up the continent. This next poem is a love letter to the diaspora. In another life, the war never happened, but somehow you and I still exist. Like obsidian, we know only the memory of lava and not the explosion that created us. Forget the gun-down church, the burning flesh, the cabbage soup. There is no bus, there is no border, there is no blood. There are only sweet cornfields and mango skins, the turquoise house and clotheslines, a heaping plate of pasteles and curtido waiting to be disappeared into our bellies. In this life, our people are not things of silences, but whole worlds bursting into breath. Everywhere there are children, playing freely, clothed and clean. Mozote does not mean massacre, and flowers bloom in every place shoes are left behind. My name still means truth, this time in a language my mouth recognizes, in a language I know how to speak. My grandmother is still a storyteller, although I am not a poet. In this life, I do not have to be. This poem somehow still exists. It is told in my mother's voice, and she makes hurt dissolve like honey in hot water, manzanilla warming the throat. You and I do not find each other on another continent, grasping at each other's necks in search of home. We meet in a mercado, my arms overflowing with mamey and danonas, and together we wash them in river water. We watch sunset fall over a land we call our own and do not fear its taking. I bite into the fruit, mouth sucking seed from substance, pulling its veins from between my teeth. Our laughter echoes from inside the cave, one we are free to step outside of. We do not have to hide here. We do not have to hide anywhere. A torogos flies past my face, and I do not fear its flapping. Thank you all so much for holding that poem. I have one more for you, and this poem is dedicated to my mother, who's here in the audience with us today. And who she herself is a wonderful poet who's gonna start writing again, right? Yeah. I love you, Mom. And it is green. I have seen the future, and it is green. Close your eyes and inhala. 1, 2, 3, 4, exhala. Open them now and see with me. Mommy and I still alive, viejitas together, rocking gently on the porch of a wood-framed house in a future worthy of our joy. Mommy's hair mid-length, loose silver over her shoulders, mis colochos tangled back into a single braid. We are mid-laughter. Her brown spotted hands and my own hold each other in the way of the newborn's grip, a hand wrapped around a single finger, a sign of a flesh claimed as its own. Mommy's eyes glisten green. With her toothless smile, Mommy grins so big, she'll save the world all over again. Thank you.
Keep it going for all our poets, Central American Diaspora. Thank you so much for joining us. On deck is Poetics of Grief and Liberation. And we have Aidid Medina, Jason Magabo Perez, the San Diego Poet Laureate, and the great Teresa Michuk. And we're closing out with also a heavy Fresno lineup with California Fuchsia, David St. John, Sara Borjas, and Lee Herrick, California Poet Laureate. But you can find copies of our authors' books individually, and also the beautiful Latino Poetry Anthology. Once again, huge shout out to Letras Latinas, Francisco Aragon, Brenda Meneiro, and all the team there for making this program possible. And thank you all for sticking around for the third day of the